course has been focusing mainly on history and architecture, art in general, to give them an overview of what they're going to experience while they're in Italy, so that they're prepared and they have a general background. So I try to discuss more the things that are going to be relevant to them once they go to Italy. The cities they're going to visit, the museums, and also like an overview of the lifestyle, because this is something they will experience there, and so I would want them to be prepared to know what to expect from the youth culture, anything that pertains to the current Italian lifestyle, which is not necessarily something you typically learn from books. So I try to keep the classes about current lifestyle and the habits of the Italian people today.
The class itself is good, and I think it's very convenient for our trip to Italy, because you know we talked about how foods that we can eat down there, like we had a restaurant that we will be going to this weekend, and so we talked about like different foods that they eat down there and just different words that we can learn. So I couldn't pronounce some of them, but it was pretty cool though.
Francesca's putting the blame on something else. She's always putting the blame on something else. She's sneaky. Now, and so Dante says, so we gotta be careful with what Francesca says. Now, is it describing how she feels? Without a doubt, without a doubt. And he says, well, Francesca, how is this possible?
My favorite part was learning about Dante, because his book, The Divine Comedy, that was pretty interesting to me. I think that was the thing that stuck out to me, was just learning about like his concept of like Inferno or whatever. So yeah, I think that's what most stuck out to me.
They were really, really enthusiastic about it. They were getting into it, asking questions. And one of the things that I hope that and I think that they came away with, is that to not think of these older texts, these Middle Ages, as something sort of monolithic, as very black and white, that there's a gray zone, that we're asking ourselves the same questions today that people were asking themselves a long, long time ago. There's two things I think that, well, not that I think, that I know, that lead to this getting written. One is when he's 9 years old, in his neighborhood, he sees this girl, Beatrice. Oh yeah, it's a lot, see? For the first time. And he falls in love with her at 9 years old, so he says. In one of his other books, called The Vita Nuova, The New Life, it's like an autobiography of like prose and poetry. So he sort of recounts this whole story of how he sees her for the first time, boom, that moment changes his life, and he falls in love with her.
I think it's been phenomenal that our players have had the opportunity to learn about a culture that they're going to experience here in a few weeks. The thing I'm mad about is that none of the coaches are getting to go to this class, so we're going to be lost when we get to Italy, and they're going to be telling us what to do. But I do think that they've really enjoyed it. I was interested in hearing from them because they've been in the class a couple of weeks now, and they talk very positively about it. I think they've embraced it, and they'll feel more comfortable, I think, when we get over there.
I think having this class as a whole is just a good experience for us, just so that we can know what to expect when we get there, so we won't go there just not knowing anything, because it's going to be hard trying to talk to people because they don't speak the same language, because I experienced that when I went with USA. I actually learned a few things just that first day, so I could imagine what they learned since they've been in there. But I think it's a great experience for the team as a whole.
And so the line in Italian is La bocca mi baciò tutto tremante, that this guy kissed me and he was trembling. And the vowel sounds in Italian create this sense of hesitation. And that's something that we lose in the translation in English. And she says that was it. And now we were discovered, he's never going to be divided from me. We're always going to be together through eternity like this. And that's it. And Dante, and she stops talking.
The interaction part, I feel it's fundamental because it keeps them engaged, and it's a way for me to read the room and understand what they're interested in and focus more on the things they like. And of course it's a great way of keeping them interested and engaged with whatever it is that we're discussing.
Dante is from Florence, and I mean, despite him having been exiled from there, they're very proud of the fact that that city produced Dante, that he's from there. So we saw pictures of Florence today. They saw some things that they will actually see when they're in Italy, and places that they could visit that are mentioned that we've seen. And one of the things that's really cool in Florence is that you have verses of this text that are referenced and that are throughout the city. So this is something that they will be in contact with definitely while they're there.